Should Princess Beatrice be a working member of the royal family? Hello everyone, welcome to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany, and today we're talking about a rather special topic and one that I'm somewhat passionate about, and that is making Princess Beatrice a working member of the British royal family. Now, to some this is controversial. Obviously, her father is Prince Andrew, Duke of York, and her mother is Sarah, the Duchess of York, and both of them are rather controversial figures. But when it comes to the working members of the royal family, it actually has a rather big problem. The vast majority of them are old. In fact, when you eliminate Catherine and William from the lineup, the average age is 75. They're in desperate need of some young blood because the Wales' children will be perhaps 10, 15, 20 years before we ever see them as working royals. Prince George will turn 10 this year, and then eventually he will be 20, but that's in 10 years from now. He'll want to go to college, he'll take a gap year, he may do some military service. So it may not be until his mid-20s or later that he really becomes a full-time member of the working royal family. It could be though that because Catherine and William need additional hands, they might elevate him sooner. But the truth is that the royal family needs more members. They are very different than some of their European counterparts in that the British royals have a lot of territory to cover. And in comparison to some of their counterparts, most of them are rather, you could say, in the upper echelons of the age region. In fact, a couple of them are pushing 90. And I think getting some young blood in there would do a lot of good and help while the Wales' children grow up and give Charles more members to work from, because unfortunately he'll probably lose about 4 in the next couple of years. So we're going to talk about this today and why it's important, I think, for Charles to consider this proposal, even though he is interested in decreasing the number of working royals. But if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, like I said, my name is Brittany, and on this channel I provide compelling royal commentary about the latest news and sometimes a little bit of gossip as well. In addition, I will be reviewing television shows and movies and sharing a bit about history. So if you guys want to subscribe, that would be awesome and fantastic. I would absolutely love to have you back. I also have live streams every Saturday morning. I don't usually announce these on here, and I should start doing that, but I do a live stream every morning, and there can be about 2,000 of us on there. So if you are interested in asking me questions, interacting with other people who love this channel, I would love to have you. It's at 10 a.m. Eastern time, which I believe is 3 p.m. UK time as well. And I'm hoping to finish out this summer, and then we're going to do somewhat of a relaunch in the fall with a bit of a new dynamic, hopefully. And I'm hoping it's going to be a lot of fun and that a lot of you will be able to join us. So bring your best beverage. I love hot chocolate, Woodard's hot chocolate in particular. So if you haven't heard of Woodard's, they make amazing hot chocolate and tea. So I'll put a link in the description box down below. I also have a weekly newsletter, Royal Wire. So if you want to see all the royal news of the week, or at least the vast majority of it, especially particularly from Europe, I put it all in there. And so if you guys are interested in that, link down below. I also have an upcoming trip to Germany and Austria. So if you're interested in seeing Savoy, where they filmed a part of The Sound of Music, we will be going there. We'll also be going to the castle that inspired the Disney World Castle, well, Cinderella's castle over there in Germany. So that's Neuschwanstein. So it is a beautiful, gorgeous, and amazing castle that's just partially finished on the interior, but outside it is majestic and magical. So we will be doing some walking tours, really enjoying the sights and sounds, and of course, chatting about Harry and Meghan and the chaos that they've unleashed on the royal fold. And then finally as well, I have a fashion channel. So if you love royal fashion, I have a fabulous fashion channel on there. I just reviewed all the tiaras that we saw at the Jordanian royal wedding, and I usually do a fashion best and worst look of the week. And I also have a whole video talking about all the fashion looks we saw at the Jordanian royal wedding. So again, if you're interested, link in the description box down below. Okay, so on to Beatrice. So just a little bit of biography on Beatrice for those of you who do not know. Beatrice was born August 8th, 1988 at Portland Hospital in London to Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, and Sarah, the Duchess of York. This was shortly after their marriage. And she was baptized at the Chapel Royal at St. James's Palace on December 20th. Her godparents are Viscount Linney, so this is now Earl Snowdon, the Duchess of Roxburgh, so Lady Jane Donnay, and Peter Palbo, Gabrielle Greenall and Carolyn Cotterell. And her name was somewhat of an unexpected choice. Her parents divorced when she was 7 years old, and she received a £1.4 million trust for her and Eugenie by the Queen. She was educated at independent Upton House School in Windsor, and she went on to the independent Cotsworth Park School, now Coworth Bexlin School, and she continued her education at the independent St. George's School in Ascot. She has been diagnosed with dyslexia, which is a thing that she has done actually a couple of foreign royal events with, including the Swedes. She took her A-levels, achieving an A in drama, a B in history, and a B in film studies. She was elected head girl in her final year and was a member of the school choir. She had a rather elaborate birthday at Windsor Castle in July 2006, and she studied for a BA in history and the history of ideas at Goldsmith, University of London, where she graduated in 2011 with a 2-in-1 degree. She was once a sales assistant at Selfridges. She also worked at the Foreign Office. She was interested at one point, I guess, in pursuing a career at the Financial Times website, but that didn't appear to happen. She had a small non-speaking role as an extra in the Young Victorias, a first for a member of the royal family, and she does look a lot like Queen Victoria, so I think that was a very apt choice. She was a paid intern at Sony Pictures, but she resigned after the hack. She moved at one point to New York City in 2015 and split her time between London and NYC. In her professional life, she goes by Beatrice York, and she is the Vice President of Partnerships and Strategy at Affinity. And she is not currently funded with taxpayer security because that was pulled from her and her sister in 2011. And for about 10 years, she dated Dave Clark, who was a businessman with Virgin Atlantic. Apparently, this relationship William was not a fan of because he really felt like Dave was just interested in the connections Beatrice had and not necessarily Beatrice herself. So it was kind of interesting when that relationship fell apart. Dave actually married really shortly after that. He did not wait long to marry at all, which I think proves that William's instincts on people are pretty good. But she did finally get married in 2020 to Edoardo Mappelli Mozzi. And so he is the son of an Italian count, and he is part of the Italian nobility. They became engaged in Italy in September 2019, and they had a wedding initially scheduled to happen on the 29th of May 2020 at the Royal Chapel at St. James's Palace, and a private reception in the gardens of Buckingham Palace, but obviously with the pandemic, that got scrapped. And her wedding was held in private in July 17th, 2020. It was a total surprise. Her father walked her down the aisle, and her wedding dress was famously a remodeled Norman Hartnell dress that was lent to her by the Queen. And she wore the Queen Mary's fringe tiara. That was the first tiara she ever wore, and it's quite a prominent one and has a really fantastic history because it's been worn by all 3 blood princesses of the last generation who were the firstborn. So that's Queen Elizabeth, Princess Anne, and Princess Beatrice. Now, the next who should wear it, and Catherine and William, don't scrimp on this, you need to do this, is Princess Charlotte will be the next bride to walk down the aisle wearing that tiara. She has a son, Christopher Wolfe, who we saw actually at the recent Christmas walkabout in Sandringham. So this is the child from her husband's previous relationship, and she gave birth to her own daughter, Sienna Elizabeth Mappelli Mozzi, on the 18th of September 2021 at the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital in Chelsea, London. And Sienna was christened at the Chapel Royal at St. James's Palace on the 29th of April 2022. And so currently Beatrice and her husband live in a 4-bedroom apartment at St. James's Palace, but reportedly also have a manor home in the Cotswolds. Now, Beatrice is not officially a working member of the royal family, but she has undertaken some engagements and some prominent, you could say, public roles that somewhat mimic being a working royal. So she supports a Springboard Children, a literacy project for primary school children with learning difficulties, and the Teenage Cancer Trust. And she also famously ran the London Marathon, and she ran with a group of people, but also auctioned off the infamous hat that she wore to Catherine and William's wedding. That crazy, insane hat, which you could say it grabbed a lot of attention, not necessarily always good, but she did auction it off for charity, which was great. It landed an £81,000 bid on eBay, and the proceeds went to 2 charities, UNICEF and Children in crisis. And so she participated in 2012, so this was the year of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. She went to Maudie services with her grandmother and supported her there. So that was a rather public event for Beatrice. She and her sister also went to Germany to advocate for Britain businesses abroad. She also spent time and participated in the London 2012 Olympics. She's a patron of the York Musical Society, and she's the royal patron of the Helen Arkell Dyslexia Center. And she says it's a charity that helped her overcome her own struggles with dyslexia. And actually recently, she's actually spent some time with Prince Carl Philip of Sweden, who also suffers with dyslexia. They actually did an event together in Sweden, and they met up, I believe, in another event in New York City where they discussed their struggles together and basically advocating for more assistance for those with dyslexia and acknowledgement that that's a bit of an issue, which I do appreciate. I've never been diagnosed with dyslexia, but I do have a tendency to switch numbers around or say the wrong word. So yeah, I have a smidge of dyslexia, probably not anything really all that discernible, but a smidge of it. She also participated in a South Asia tour in 2016 where she visited Nepal, India, and Bhutan on behalf of the Franks Family Foundation and the Jamgon Control Eyes Center. She also attended the Asia Society Asia Game Change Award. She also helped to found Big Change, a charity she established with 6 of her friends to encourage young people to develop skills outside the traditional academic curriculum. She climbed Mont Blanc in 2012. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's so true. And she was also involved with the Richard Branson and his family in the Virgin Strive Challenge, which involved climbing Mount Etna. And so keeping it going, 2017, she promoted an anti-bullying book, Be Cool, Be Nice. She gave an interview to Vogue. She also was named one of Hello Magazine's Best Dressed Royals. She attended the Met Gala in 2018, so she has done it and Meghan Markle has not. Of course, Catherine hasn't done it either. And then she also undertook an extended tour of Laos to raise the profile of the UK there, and also participated in the Luang Prabang Half Marathon for Children. She was elected to the Board of Trustees of the Outward Bound Trust as a trustee. In May 2019, she was honored at a gala in New York City for her work with Friends Without Borders. She also supported the Kairos Society, a nonprofit organization of entrepreneurs at universities in China, Europe, India, and the US. She's an ambassador for Made by Dyslexia, and that began in April 2022. And they first took part in the World Dyslexia Assembly, which happened in Sweden. That's where she met Prince Carl Philip. And she obviously participated in the vigil for her grandmother after her death with the rest of her cousins. And she was named the patron of the British Skin Foundation in February 2023. And she is officially known as Her Royal Highness Princess Beatrice of York, Mrs. Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi. So, a great biography there. Now, there's a lot of people who don't like the York sisters, and I somewhat understand that. Their father and mother are both difficult to swallow in their various ways. Obviously, Andrew has a very, very big reputation for being arrogant and being basically somebody who goes constantly after cash. We have like Air Miles Andy was one of his nicknames for a period of time. And obviously, of course, not forgetting the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Now, I will say, not really in his defense, but to be fair, there's a lot of other people in US politics and in the global structure in general who have escaped the laser focus of the press in terms of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. So Andrew has bared, I think, the brunt of it. And in many ways, it's definitely tarnished the reputation of the Yorks and the York name in general. And then you also have her mother, Sarah, who's declared bankruptcy, has been involved in many, many scandals, including selling influence and all these sorts of things. So there's very much, you could say, a difficult element when it comes to her parents. However, I think Beatrice, what she has that works really well, and I think would be a really big asset to Charles, is that she's very dedicated to the royal family. She has an immense respect for her grandmother and the traditions of the institution. And I think she would make a great working royal, especially if she could do things with her husband. I think they showed great form at the recent wedding of Crown Prince Hussein of Jordan. I think that was a wonderful opportunity to show the world what Princess Beatrice could offer the British royal family. And they desperately, desperately need it. Now, I know obviously things are still in flux. Obviously, the Queen just died and not too long ago. But the general issue that I think Charles has going forward is that he has a slimmed down plan. But I don't think it'll work like it will work in other royal families. So the Swedes have done it, the Danes have done it, Norway, Spain, the Netherlands, a lot of the other families have slimmed down, but most of their populations range from 5 to 10 million. You're getting a bit higher there in Spain, where I can't remember quite the population, but maybe 20 to 40 million people. When you get to the UK, it's 60 million people. And then you add in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, you're starting to get into some really, really, really big numbers. And the royals need more people. There was a really interesting report, and I did a video about it, talking about how that while Charles wants to slim down, the royals need to be seen out and engaging more, because the best indicator for success of the monarchy is the more engagements that they do, because the more they connect with the public, the more, even if it's minor royals, the more the brand builds, not relying on just the principals, but the Duke of Kent, Princess Alexandra of Kent, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. All those people really do make a difference. Even though they don't make perhaps as much of a splash as Catherine and William, they do actually have an important function in continuing and growing the brand of the monarchy. And here's the thing, when Charles took over the throne, he was 73. He's going to turn 75 this year. That might sound weird, but that is correct, because his birthday is November, the Queen died in September. And then when we saw the picture of all the working royals together in the official coronation pictures, it was just hard not to see somewhat the age in many of the participants. Not that they're still not doing good work, that's not what I'm saying, but when you're looking at the future of the monarchy, even still with Charles there, it was very much to a certain extent a view into the past, with all of Her Majesty's cousins who were working royal. So this was the Duke of Kent, Princess Alexandra of Kent, so that's his sister, and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. So currently the average age of a royal right now, so this includes Catherine and William, is 69 years old. It was like 68.5 or 6, but so essentially it's 69. That's pretty old when you think about it. If you eliminate Catherine and William from the equation, the number jumps to 75. Now here's the issue. There's nothing wrong, obviously, with older members of the royal family working as long as they're able to. Absolutely. The Duke of Kent did a couple of engagements this week. The issue becomes when you're trying to connect to the younger generations, do they connect as well with these people who are the same age as their grandparents or great-grandparents? That's a huge question, I think, and one Charles needs to consider, because the fundamental foundation of it is connecting to the younger generation. Yes, they will grow in their appreciation for the monarchy as they get older, but when they're young right now, how do you reach them right now? How do you get them to connect to this institution that many see as archaic? Well, it doesn't help when many of your members seem to accentuate that issue. So Beatrice, if you added Beatrice and her husband in, the average age would drop to 63. And then if perhaps the Duke of Kent retires and the Princess Alexandra of Kent retires, then the average age drops down to 59. Princess Beatrice will be 35 later this year, and her husband will be 40 later this year. Obviously, they're very similar in ages to Catherine and William, but the huge problem Catherine and William are having is they're a young family. Obviously, Beatrice has the same issue here, but they could somewhat support each other and take on maybe perhaps one engagement every 2 weeks. That would even just help a little bit, because what you have is this whole issue where Catherine and William have 3 children. They have a lot going on. They have the burden of the future. So they need to do a decent amount of engagements, yet at the same time they want to be parents as well. And Beatrice does have absolutely the same issue. But when Catherine and William take a step back from the scene, the royals aren't covered quite as much as you could say, because yes, Charles and Camilla get support and media attention, but it's nothing near what Catherine and William get. And so if you add Princess Beatrice in the mix as well, perhaps she takes somewhat the same time off because her young daughter will be in school at some point, but at least right now, even a bit, she could take some of those engagements while Catherine and William are spending time with their families, or they could trade off, something to that effect. Because I think Princess Beatrice showed great form when she was in Jordan. She looked fantastic. I think she really represented the British monarchy very, very well. And I think she could do this in a more permanent role too. She's obviously done a lot of engagements, gone all over the world. Most of that I just got from Wikipedia. And so it's just amazing to see what she can do. And I think, again, having that extra member just helps things a smidge as they're trying to have this stopgap between the Wales's children, who are very young, and who need to all be working members of the royal family, because if Catherine and William, who seem to imply at one point, I think William is like, they wanted to have Louis and Charlotte make sure they had careers. But if that happens, by the time George is a working member, it may perhaps just be Charles, Camilla, Anne, Sophie, and Edward. And then Charles is getting up. In 10 years, he'll be 85. So they really do need this young blood to come in. They really, really do. And Beatrice can be one of those who kind of helps as they're getting the wheels as kids through school, through college and university, through whatever military service they're going to do, into those working roles. Now, granted, vast majority of time, the men who marry royal wives tend to not be working members of the royal family, so they may not add Edo, but that's fine. He has his own career, that's great. But I think Princess Beatrice, she's done a lot of engagements. I think they should allow her to do more. Now, and if they want to too, they could add Princess Eugenie to the list, but maybe that would be pushing it. But I think Princess Beatrice could be a critical piece of the royal puzzle because, again, the royals have so much more ground to cover than some of their European counterparts. The Queen of Denmark can say that while only herself, the Crown Prince couple, and Prince Christian will get government support. And the other 3 children of the Crown Prince couple are, well, they're on their own. And when it comes to her second-born son, him and his wife have basically been sort of pushed out of official royal roles. They have something from time to time, but really they've been told, hey, you know what? You need to get your own jobs. All your kids need to get their own jobs. And I understand that because there's about, I think if I remember right, I wrote this down at some point, 5 to 8 million people in Denmark. I think it's closer to 5. So there's just not that much ground to cover. It's a small country, but the UK has such a large footprint that I think Charles's plan to do a slimmed down monarchy, I think it'll fail and backfire if he doesn't allow someone like Beatrice to come in and help support them while they're perhaps getting the wheels as kids up to speed and to that point where they are working royals. And then if she wants to, if it's not something she enjoys, perhaps she could retire from her official working role as a member of the royal family, or she could continue it because William is going to need the support because there may be some point, especially since he's the only working royal of that generation now, because Harry and Meghan have abandoned the royals, that he might be on his own with his kids. And while that's not the end of the world, you could say, that's a lot more on their family. If they could utilize the strengths and support of Beatrice and her husband, and perhaps even Eugenie, I think it would be a great thing for Catherine and William just to spread the work around. I think that would be absolutely lovely. So guys, let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think of Princess Beatrice being added to the royal fold. I appreciate you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.